You're wondering about airflow, 45 CF, and they're similar. I can't read my words. What did I write there? Unchainable. Hey guys, what's up? It's Matt with 86. First thing I'm going to warn you about is the cat's a little off today. I think she's broken. I don't know, just heads up. I'm going to be looking at the ANTEC Prizm fans. That's what I'm going to be looking at here. Now these fans I think I had high expectations for, but it kind of falls in the range with a lot of the ones we looked at back in January, with some minor good and a little bit of bad. Now for those of you that don't know, ANTEC was one of those bigger companies back in the day. I specifically remember going to Fry's back in the early 2000s, late 90s even, and you'll see you would find things like ANTEC's cases, and nobody really rivaled them with their cases. Those were some high quality feeling steel cases. I really liked ANTEC back in the day. And they just kind of disappeared. I don't think they so much really disappeared. They just haven't been in the front spotlight as much as maybe they used to once long ago. So how was I going to pass up taking a look at their new fans? These are the ANTEC Prizm fans, 120mm fans. There's a 3-pack with 2 ARGB strips that are 5-volt, 3-pin adapters to plug into either the hub or to a connector that connects to your motherboard. Now the fans themselves and the hub itself can connect to the motherboard and be used with things like ASUS, ASRock, MSI. It should work with all of them. The only caveat to that really is the fact that most of the time when you take these third-party ones and you use these 5-volt connectors to connect them, one might see white and one might see purple. I've had this happen with multiple different LED brands, and that's just been a minor inconvenience, but it still works with the motherboard UI as a whole. The fan's max speed is 2,000 RPMs, and we're going to pause right here so you can listen to it, because when you read hydraulic bearing fans, really quiet, I'm thinking, hydraulic bearing fans are usually pretty loud to me anyways. But we'll pause here and you can take a listen and see what you think. They're going to go from nothing to max 2,000 RPMs. Now as far as airflow goes, I don't have any way to accurately measure it, but it does say approximately 45 cubic feet per minute. So there you have it, 45 CFM. And because I've had people ask in the past too, they are measured at about 25 millimeters thickness. So if you don't have 25 millimeters of clearance in a specific tower, not these necessarily, but a specific tower, then you might not be able to recap it. But 25 millimeters is pretty standard across most fans. So I actually found these to be pretty similar to the Easy DIY fans that I looked at. If you haven't seen that one and you're interested in it, check out this card. One of these sides, it's backwards, I always get confused. One of these sides will have a card. Easy DIY fans, if you want to go look at those. These are very similar to that. And they're similar to it in the sense that there's no remote for this hub. So if you wanted to change things on the hub manually and not go with a motherboard UI control, then you have to be able to have access to that hub so that you can go change between the 3 speeds it has, which is really choppy, a little choppy, and then fine, and the actual modes itself. And it's one directional, so you only go up, 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 and through. So if you pass the mode you want, you go all the way back through until you find it again. It's a little inconvenient. I kind of wish they would have done a remote with this one as a side thing, because not everybody uses the motherboard UI control, and not everybody uses just the hub itself. So it just would have been nice to have a remote to go in there and pick from, or sit there and use instead of try to have access to the hub itself to find it. A little disparaging, but you know, I kind of, you know, anyway. The fans do have dual rings. Has a ring on the front, ring on the back, so that you can see it pretty well from whatever side you're looking at, which is pretty nice, as a lot of these lower priced fans will have rings on just one side, or you only really be able to see the light from this way or that, and that can affect how you set up your airflow if lighting is more important than your actual airflow, which I'm not saying it is at all, but some people. Now it does come with the 2 RGB strips that are ARGB strips so that you can address them via UI control and motherboard software, but these strips are going to be 5-volt ARGB, which means again they're the 3-pin ones, and you can connect them to the hub. The hub itself only has 5 points for ARGB pins to be connected. So you have 3 fans and then 2 lights, which is going to completely populate the hub. Now what's the problem with that is you can't expand on more fans for it that are going to sync with the hub if that's something you want, because these ARGB strips will take it up. The other problem is the strips aren't chainable. You can't chain these to the fans, you can't chain these to each other. At the end they're cut, capped, and that's it. Which could also make placement for them inside your tower a little bit of a pain to figure out. The fans themselves have these tiny little anti-vibration pads, and I thought it was neat. I don't really know how well in practice this will work over time, but they're really tiny little dampeners that are meant to just barely touch, and that's it. Usually we see it completely surrounding the screw hole. Not in this case, just little tiny rubber feet that are sitting there right there on the fan near the screw hole. A good plus to it, something that I'm glad about, is this is SATA powered. I like that. I'm tired of seeing Molex. I want people to get away from using Molex to power things like these hubs or extra peripheral devices on the PC, or in the PC rather, and I like to see SATA power sort of taking over there. It's a lot cleaner, it's a lot nicer, and you're not worried about breaking pins in your Molex connections. On top of that, if you're somebody that has a modular power supply, I don't want to have to plug in one Molex thing just to plug in one Molex thing. I'd rather it all be SATA and just chain it off the SATA plugins. These fans are pretty cool, but they did not blow my mind like I kind of hoped they would in a way. Now they're not bad by any means, but I would like to have seen things like the remote. I would like to see things like more control via a remote. The ARGB strips not being capped, something you can chain around. Think about like Corsair's lighting node, how you can connect them around and they'll follow each other continuously. Maybe a larger hub that supported more, or the ability to chain the lights themselves off the fan. So that way if you've got a light strip that's going around and you want an effect to happen, you could plug it into the fan and it would follow that light strip with the fan or off of the fan, instead of having to waste a spot on the hub in case you wanted to buy 1 or 2 extra fans, because 3 does seem like a pretty regular number of fans to buy, but most towers will support 3, 4, 5, 6, so it just depends. Small ITX build, this could be your complete package. 2 ARGB strips, 3 fans, and only 3 places to put fans. Yeah, that works out great, I think. But for people with larger towers that want to do a little bit more, you're a little bit limited here. Now it's listed as 18 modes and there's a bunch of them, so when I say 18 and there's a bunch of them, what I really mean is there's 18 modes, but it does it with a bunch of combinations of different colors. So here, we'll pause here at the end, that way you can watch them. You can sit here and I'll put a timestamp down below, but you can just watch the lightings if you want to see what lighting features come pre-built on the hub. We'll stop here. You guys have a great day, night, whatever it is. I'll see you in the next video I do, and now we're going to go into the lights and be done with the video. Have a great day, night, whatever it is.